If you've been on the internet for even a couple of years, then I'm sure you're well aware of the many issues with the music industry and copyright and fair use and all of the moral and legal issues to do with that. Today, I will not be boring you with that. Instead, we're going to be analyzing kind of the sick genius of what the music industry is doing with copyright. It's kind of like when you see a villain and you're like, wow, that is terrible, but at the same time, you kind of respect the thought and planning that went into it. That's what I'm doing with the music industry today. So let's analyze how deeply music is ingrained in all of us and how it's in every single part of our culture. Music has always been integral to who we are as people. We use it to socialize, to tell stories, to bond with one another. And if you have your foothold in something so integral to how we communicate with each other, then you have a foothold on people. And if you're going from a monetary sense, people will always be consuming music, so you'll always be making money. And if you look back in history, innovations in music are also often linked with innovations in our society, or at least very big societal changes. From the actual technology being used to even just changes in genres and how it's being kind of consumed by people. I mean, look at how when we started having really big music halls and orchestras and operas, how suddenly there was this new way to define different classes. Or if you start looking at the technology, the phonograph. It, one, changed music forever, as they now had to very much so shorten from hour-long lengths of music into just a couple of minutes. When the radio came around, it completely changed the political landscape. Instead of politicians just needing to have good words on paper and be okay with public speaking with crowds, the radio made it so that now even the voice that your future president had a change on the potential results of the election. It also made it that much easier for people to share information. It made it so that we could now spread information across the ocean, something that was never possible before. From Walkmans to AirPods, we always see that as there's changes in music, there's really changes in our culture and how we do things. Or if it's the other way around, then music usually indicates a change in our culture. If you are involved in the music industry, you are involved in an industry that will never die. We always seem to be consuming music. No matter how much it changes, fundamentally that industry is still always there. So if you've paid any attention to this, when you see a new form of consuming music growing with the internet and streaming, then it makes sense that you would want to start to monopolize on that and take advantage of it. And that's exactly what the music industry is doing. Is it ethical? No, but it makes sense why this is a lucrative thing that they're holding on to so strongly. This is something that will continue to grow, and especially as the internet is a continuously growing medium that will only get bigger, they'd be dumb to try and get rid of this foothold that they already have. So while I by no means support the music industry and how they're doing things, I certainly can understand why and kind of respect the fact that they're trying to do it. However, I also have another thing to pose. Because of the rise of the internet, because of how equipment is now being available to anyone and the ability to then share their music is also available to almost everyone, there's also a huge opponent now showing up for the current music industry. For as much as we joke about SoundCloud rappers, that's a legitimate thing that could continue to grow in the future. I mean, look at your Spotify playlist right now. If you're anything like me, then you have a lot of indie pop artists that didn't grow from traditional labels, but instead through TikTok or through YouTube. But there's a very clear new side of the music industry currently growing that might actually be able to rival the current music industry that exploits seemingly everyone and also takes advantage of everything that they can. And I kind of want to be hopeful that maybe this new era will actually bring some change, and at least maybe give us consumers a more ethical option when we're consuming music, instead of always being left with these questionable music labels. I also just want to take a moment to apologize for the very inconsistent uploads, but I got back to school, I also moved, hence the change in scenery, so everything's been a bit chaotic, but thank you for sticking with me through it. I'll see y'all hopefully next week.